Okay, hello. We're going to continue with the analysis of Act 1. Actually, let me give you an introduction to Act 1. Act 1 has two long scenes. Yes, it's one of the most dramatic scenes in all of Shakespeare's plays. This is the trial, the trial, Antonio's trial. Yes, it's the moment. It's that moment that which we have explained, in which the comedy almost becomes a tragedy. Yes, dramatic irony is constantly at work, because we will see that it is Portia disguised as Balthasar and Nerissa also disguised as her assistant. Yes, and the audience is aware of this fact, while the rest of the characters, Bassanio, Antonio, yes, all of Graciano, all those characters are not acquainted with that knowledge. Yes, we will have some new characters like the Duke, that is kind of a president in Elizabethan in Venice. Yes, the one that will determine the final. Yes, what the one who is, let's say, making sure that all the laws are being applied. Yes, so that order is present in the society, because remember that order was a very important value in Elizabethan times. And then we have the Magnificos, who are high-ranking Venetians, who are the judges along with the Duke. Yes, then we have the rest of the characters that we already know. Yes, Antonio, Bassanio, Shylock. It's interesting because this is the trial scene, and evil characters would come through the left. Yes, because the left is associated with evil. In Latin, the word for left is sinister, la siniestra. Yes, and it's interesting because Shylock is going to be surrounded by Christians. Yes, and do you think that this is going to be a fair trial? I leave that question for you. Yes, of course, in Spanish we would say, está jugando de visitante. Yes, wherever he goes, because he's a foreigner. Yes, and even when all the law is on his side, what do you think? Will this trial be fair or not? Yes, so let us start by analyzing Act 1, Scene 1. Allow me to share my screen with you and the sound. Here we go. Act 1, Scene.
Antonio and others.
What, is Antonio here?
Ready, so please your grace.
I am sorry for thee. Thou art come to answer a stony adversary, an inhuman wretch, incapable of pity, void and empty, from any dream of mercy.
I have heard your grace has ta'en great pains to qualify his rigorous course. But since he stands obdurate, and that no lawful means can carry me out of his envy's reach, I do oppose my patience to his fury, and am armed to suffer with a quietness of spirit the very tyranny and rage of his.
Go one, and call the Jew into the court.
He is ready at the door. He comes, my lord.
Okay, so this is, we're going to analyze this extract. Yes, of course, Antonio is here. He says, what is Antonio here? This is the Duke asking about him. Yes, ready, so please your grace. Yes, sir, I'm here. And the Duke will show his opinion. Yes, he will tell him, I'm sorry for you. So this is the one who has to decide his final fate. But he's not being very objective. In fact, he's being very subjective. He says, I am sorry for you. You are come to answer a stony adversary. So you are facing a very stubborn enemy. Yes, an enemy, that a ruthless enemy, an inhuman wretch. Look at this description of Shylock. an inhuman wretch, an inhuman and happy person, incapable of pity, void and empty. So look at the emphasis, using two words meaning empty, void and empty, from any drum of mercy, from any drop of mercy. So this is not an impartial judge. It looks like he has already made his mind that what is fair, that what Antonio is going through is really unfair, not taking into account that he has signed a contract, yes, that he has agreed to this, okay? And Antonio is very willing to face his fate. Remember Antonio from the earlier scenes, that he had this mood around him, that he was very passive and sad and full of melancholy. And he continues to be that way. Yes, and he accepts the law. He says, I have heard your grace had taken great pains to qualify his rigorous course. So I have heard that you have done more than enough to try to change Shylock's mind, but since he stands obdurate, and that no lawful means can carry me out of his envious reach, I do oppose my patience to his fury, and am armed to suffer with a quietness of spirit the very tyranny and rage of his. So I am ready to suffer his tyranny, and that is okay. So he's willing to accept his punishment. He's willing to die because he knows that he has signed a contract, and this is what the law says. And he is the sacrificial lamb of the story. He's going to make the sacrifice. In a way, he is paying for the punishment of all the people who have, let's say, mistreated Shylock. Because the truth is that many people mistreated Shylock and other Jewish people at that time. And Antonio is the one who is about to pay the price for that. Yes. Let us continue listening a little bit more.
Enter Shylock. Make room and let him stand before us. Shylock, the world thinks, and I think so too, that thou but leadest this fashion of thy malice to the last hour of act, and then, 'tis thought, thou'lt show thy mercy and remorse. More strange there is thy strange apparent cruelty, and where thou now exact the penalty, which is a pound of this poor merchant's flesh, thou wilt not only lose the forfeiture, but touched with human gentleness and love, forgive a moiety of the principal, glancing an eye of pity on his losses, that have of late so huddled on his back, enow to press a royal merchant down, and black commiseration of his state, for brassy bosoms and rough hearts of flint, from stubborn Turks and Tartars, never trained to offices of tender courtesy. We all expect a gentle answer.
So just I don't know if you got the vibe here, but it feels to me, it appears to me that the one that is being judged is Shylock and not Antonio. Yes, the Duke says, go one and call the Jew into the cart. Yes, go and call Shylock. He's ready at the door. He comes, my lord. And when he enters through the left, everyone makes room, you know. So this is a very dramatic moment. Make room and let him stand before our face. So make aside and let him face us. So it feels like he is being judged. Yes, Shylock, the world thinks, and I think so too, that thou but leadest this fashion of thy malice to the last hour of act, and then it is thought thou wilt show thy mercy and remorse more strange than is thy strange apparent cruelty. So Shylock, the world thinks, so he knows what the world thinks. Wow, who is he? God, a superhero who reads the mind of everyone, because apparently he knows what the entire world thinks. And he says, the world thinks, and I think so too, that you are trying to show your malice and you are waiting, yes, and that you will wait until the very last minute when you are about to cut Antonio's flesh. That's when you are going to stop. This is what he is saying, yes. And also, yes, again, the theme of appearance versus reality. They don't believe that Shylock will actually cut a pound of flesh of Antonio's body. They don't believe that he's being honest about this. They believe that he's bragging, that he's pretending, and that in the very last second he will stop so that everyone learns the lesson. Yes, so the theme of appearance versus reality is here, and they are not seeing that Shylock truly hates Antonio and that he has been so mistreated in the past that he wants to make justice, and this is his way of mending things. Yes, they believe that at the very last minute he would show mercy. Okay, and he ends up this brief this brief speech by saying, "We all expect a gentle answer, Jew. We all expect a gentle answer, Jew." So we also see here the theme of expectation versus reality, because they expect Shylock to behave in a certain way, and you would see that in reality something different happens. Also, Antonio and Bassanio expected the ships to come in time, and in reality something different happened. The contract, yes, they had the expectation to sign it in a mere formality, in just as a step. It's not important. Well, that was your expectation, because in reality, when you fail to return the money on time, yes, Shylock is demanding for him to pay with his pound of flesh. Okay, so let us see what Shylock's answer is. Let's see. Do you think that he will provide a gentle answer after the way he has been treated? We'll see.
I have possessed your grace of what I purpose, and by our holy sacrifice sworn to have the due and forfeit of my bond. If you deny it, let the danger light upon your charter and your city's freedom. You'll ask me why I rather choose to have a weight of carrion flesh than to receive 3,000 ducats. I'll not answer that, but say it is my humor. Is it answered? What if my house be troubled with a rat, and I be pleased to give 10,000 ducats to have it banged? What are you answered yet? Some men there are love not a gaping pig, some that are mad if they behold a cat, and others, when the bagpipe sings to the nose, cannot contain their urine. For affection, mistress of passion, sways it to the mood of what it likes or loathes. Now, for your answer. As there is no firm reason to be rendered why he cannot abide a gaping pig, why he a harmless necessary cat, why he a walling bagpipe, but of force must yield to such inevitable shame as to offend, himself being offended, so can I give no reason, nor will I not, more than a lodged hate, and a certain loathing I bear Antonio, that I follow thus a losing suit against him. Are you answered?
This is no answer, thou unfeeling man, to excuse the current of thy cruelty.
Okay, so let us go to the beginning of this extract. Yes, we are not going to analyze everything. Yes, just a few key phrases. He starts by saying, "I have possessed your grace of what I purpose. I have told you what I intend to do. And by our holy Sabbath have I sworn to have the due and forfeit of my bond." So I have sworn by my Sabbath, by my religion, yes, that I will take my bond. I will make him pay what he has to pay. If you deny it, let the danger light upon your charter and your city's freedom. So if you, the Duke, if you deny me this, if you don't make Antonio pay for the contract in the way the contract says that he has to pay, then your city will be in danger. And this is true. What he's saying is the truth. Why? Because Venice is a city where people from all countries come to do business, to sell things, to exchange goods. So if the people around the world learn that the law is not being respected in Venice, then people stop considering that Venice is a reliable city to do business. So that's why the Duke is in a difficult position, because he has to make sure, his job is to make sure that the law is respected. And in this case, by not doing what the contract says, that it says that if he didn't pay on time, he would have to pay with a pound of his fair flesh. Then if he doesn't make that happen, the law wouldn't be respected in Venice, and that would end up in having a really bad reputation, and that would influence in the business. Yes, so this is what he's saying. If you want, Shylock is saying, you cannot respect the law, but then remember that everyone will know that your city is not reliable because the law is not being reinforced. Okay. He makes lots of reference to dirty animals. Yes, you'll ask me why I rather choose to have a weight of carrion flesh than to receive 30,000 ducats. So, because the big question is, why don't you want money, Shylock? Because they have offered money. But he says, no, I wanted a pound of flesh because that's what the law, that's what the contract says. And he answers, he says, I will not answer that, but say it is my humor. Is it answered? So here what he's saying is, I feel like it. I do it because I can. Yes, because I'm entitled to do it because this is what the contract says. The truth is, what is the true reason why Shylock is doing this? There are many reasons. The main one being that he hates Antonio. That's the most basic reason. There are many others, yes? And then he says, what if my house would be troubled with a rat? I will be pleased to give 10,000 to have it banned. What are you answered yet? Some men there are love, not a gaping pig, some that are mad if they behold a cat, and others when the bagpipe sings in the nose cannot contain their urine. For affection, masters of passion, sways into the mood of what it likes or loathes. So here what he's showing is that he has a clear, this is a clear reference to hatred. He says, if I would have a rat in my house, would I not want it to die? So he's comparing Antonio to a rat, yes, to an animal that is disgusting. And he's saying, I do it because I can. Yes, just because I can. And this is what Christians can't understand, why he's so insistent in doing this. Of course, no one, I think none of the parts are having empathy, right? And for different reasons. Yes, I'm not justifying anyone. If you go to the end of this section, yes, because he tries to provide different reasons why he wants, but he wants to make Antonio pay. Yes, and in the end he says, this is line 59. He says, so I can give no reason, nor I will not, more than a lodged hate and a certain loathing I bear Antonio, that I follow thus a losing suit against him. Are you answered? So the only reason I can give you, of course, this is the only reason that he gives here, because throughout the story he has given more reasons that we have worked with in class. Yes, but what he says is that the only reason is that he hates him. Yes, and Bassanio gets really mad. Of course, he says, this is no answer, you unfeeling man, you heartless man, to excuse the current of your cruelty. Notice the use of alliteration, to excuse your behavior, your cruel behavior. Okay, and let us continue to the interaction that now Bassanio and Shylock have.
I am not bound to please thee.
Sir, do all men kill the things they do not love?
Hates any man the thing he would not kill?
Every offense is not a hate at first.
What, wouldst thou have a serpent sting thee twice?
I pray you, think you question with the Jew. You may as well go stand upon the beach and bid the main flood bate his usual height. You may as well use question with the wolf why he hath made the ewe bleat for the lamb. You may as well forbid the mountain pines to wag their high tops, and to make no noise when they are fretting with the gusts of heaven. You may as well do anything most hard as to seek to soften that, than which what's harder, his Jewish heart. Therefore I do beseech you, make no more offers, use no farther means, but with all brief and plain conveniency. Let me have judgment, and the Jew his will.
For thy 3,000 ducats, here is 6.
If every ducat in 6,000 ducats were in 6 parts, and every part a ducat, I would not draw them. I would have my bond.
How shalt thou hope for mercy, rendering none?
Okay, up to here. So of course, Shylock says, I am not bound to please thee with my answers. I love this comeback. Yes, this way of returning to him. So I am not forced to please you with my answers. I can say whatever I want. This is basically what he's saying. Yes. Do all men kill the things they do not love? So what he's asking is, we all hate lots of things. That does mean that we have to go on hating, killing all of those things or people? Yes. Hates any man the things he would not kill. Notice how the two characters here use antithesis. Antithesis is the use of contrasting ideas within the same sentence. And when this happens in a dialogue, yes, notice that Bassanio says, do all men kill the things they do not love? And Shylock uses the word hates in contrast with love. And Shylock uses the word kill again at the end as in the same way as Bassanio does. Yes, do all men kill the things they do not love? Hates any man the thing he would not kill? Does anyone hate the things that they don't want to kill? This is what he's asking, sort of the opposite. Yes. Every offense is not a hate at first. Of course, maybe the first time that someone offends you, you don't hate them the first time, but the second, the third, the fourth. And we know that Shylock has been offended several times, yes, by these people. But well, what would you have a serpent sting you twice? So would you let a serpent sting you twice? Of course not, yes. And Antonio says, I pray you, you think you question with the Jew, you may as well go and stand up on the beach and bid the main flood bait his usual height. So please don't bother in arguing with or in trying to convince Shylock to change his mind, because he will not. And he provides different examples of things in nature that will never change, no matter how much you try. Yes, like you may ask the ocean to grow smaller, but it won't. You may ask a wolf why he killed the lamb, but he won't tell you why, and he would do it again. You may forbid the pine trees of the mountain to move or make noise, but they won't. Yes, you may try everything in the world, and it will be impossible to change his mind. Yes, if you go to line 78, you may as well do anything most hard as seek to soften that than which was harder, his Jewish heart. So his Jewish heart is harder to change than any of the things that I have just mentioned. Therefore, I do beseech you, I beg you, make no more offers, use no further means, but with all brief and plain conveniency, let me have my judgment, and the Jew his will. So let what has to happen, happen. Yes, he is ready to assume his punishment for not respecting the bond. He knows that there is no point in trying to convince Shylock because he wants him. Yes, that's the payment that Shylock wants. And Bassanio says, for 3,000 ducats, here is 6. So I give you the double of money. And remember that this money was given by Portia. Yes. And Shylock replies, yes, if every ducat is in 6,000 ducats were in 6 parts, and every part a ducat, I would not draw them, I would have my bond. So here what he's saying, even if you would offer me all the money in the world, I will not want it, because I only want the payment of my contract. Yes. And the Duke interrupts here the conversation, and he says, how shall you hope for mercy, rendering none? How can you demand mercy when you don't give any mercy to others? Okay, mercy being one of the main